Kai Havertz is on the pitch. Victor Gyokeres is on the bench. Manchester City versus Arsenal, the biggest game of the season. And Mikel Arteta has just made a decision that sends a message louder than any press conference ever could. This is not a rotation. This is not a precaution. This is Arsenal's manager telling the world that the man they spent the entire summer building their attack around is not trusted to start in the most important 90 minutes of the campaign. Gyokeres, 18 goals this season, Arsenal's top scorer, sitting, watching while Havertz leads the line. And in that single moment, everything that has been simmering under the surface at this football club explodes into plain sight. The transfer questions, the recruitment scrutiny, the debate about mentality, the whispers about whether this squad is truly built to win a title, all of it suddenly impossible to ignore, because here is what makes that team sheet even harder to process. Saka is absent. Timber is absent. Calafiori is not available. Arsenal are already playing with 4 central defenders. They are on their third choice right back before a single ball has been kicked. And in that chaos, with everything stripped back and exposed, Arteta still looked at his options and chose not to start the striker he paid the club's biggest hopes on. Thierry Henry is watching. He calls what follows a disgrace. Martin Keown points to a squad stretched beyond its limits. Patrice Evra questions whether this team even has personality. Owen defends Arteta quietly. And the data from Opta sits in the background, cold and precise, telling a two-sided story about a club that dominates the weak and struggles against the strong. Everything is happening at once. The title race is tilting, the transfer window is already being planned, and Arsenal Football Club is standing at a crossroads that will define the next era of this project. This is where we are, right now, in the middle of it. And nothing about what comes next is simple. Let me be clear about what is at stake right now. Arsenal are in a title race. Every point matters. Every performance is being examined under a microscope. And after losing to Manchester City, the pressure has shifted dramatically. The questions are no longer just about tactics or formation. They are about mentality, about identity, and about whether the right decisions were made in the transfer market last summer. If you want this level of detailed, independent analysis on everything happening at Arsenal, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is dedicated to giving you the full picture, not just the headlines. Now let us go through every piece of information from today, one by one. Patrice Evra on Arsenal's personality. Let me read exactly what Evra said, and then I will give you my take. Evra stated, "What I don't see in Arsenal is personality. Even their fans don't believe in them. They have that curse. With Arsenal, I will never talk about a quadruple. I have many friends from Arsenal. They are asterisk titting themselves right now. Now, that is a blunt and provocative statement from a man who won multiple Premier League titles with Manchester United. Evra is not someone who says things to fill airtime. When he speaks about mentality and personality, he is drawing from experience at the very top level. The word he uses is important. Personality, not quality, not tactics, not fitness. Personality. That is a cultural observation. He is saying that when the pressure arrives, he does not see Arsenal responding the way champions respond. He is talking about something that cannot be fixed with a transfer window. It is internal. His reference to a quadruple is also telling. It suggests that at some point this season, that conversation was live enough for him to address it. And now, after the Manchester City defeat, he is firmly closing that door. What makes this comment sting for Arsenal fans is the second part. He says, even the fans do not believe in them. That is not just a criticism of the players. That is a reflection of the entire atmosphere around the club right now. And the fact that his friends connected to Arsenal are nervous tells you that the mood inside the club circles is fragile. As an analyst, I would not dismiss Evra's words as clickbait. He is identifying something genuine. The gap between Arsenal's talent level and their ability to perform under maximum pressure is a real conversation, and it is one that this club needs to have, honestly. Martin Keown on the Manchester City defeat. Here is what Keown said, and I want you to hear the full quote before I break it down. Keown said, "It is normal to feel nervous, but it is about how you react. I don't believe that the injuries Arsenal have had have helped them. Timber and Saka are not available for Arsenal. Perhaps Arsenal bit off more than they can chew." They were really big in 4 competitions. Is the workload playing a part here? Perhaps that game came at the wrong time. The squad players that come in meant Arsenal played with 4 central defenders yesterday. No Calafiori to develop the play in midfield like they normally have. No Timber and that tenacity he has to help deal with Haaland when he's doing his stuff. People come in to replace who is missing. We were on our third right-back yesterday. Now, Keown's analysis here is measured and fair. He is not making excuses for Arsenal. He is identifying structural problems that the injury crisis created. The absence of Saka and Timber against Manchester City is significant. Timber's role in dealing with Haaland physically is something Keown specifically highlights. That is a detail that most casual observers miss. It is not just about attacking quality. Timber provides a specific defensive physicality that Arsenal lost on that day. The point about Calafiori is equally important. Keown describes him as someone who develops play in midfield. That means Arsenal lost their ability to progress the ball smoothly from defence into midfield because the player who normally bridges that gap was absent. And then the third right-back comment, that tells you everything about the depth issue. Arsenal were forced into extraordinary defensive measures before the game even started. Playing 4 central defenders is a sign of a squad stretched beyond its natural limits. Keown is essentially making the case that the result was shaped as much by circumstance as by performance. The workload across 4 competitions has taken a physical toll, and it chose the worst possible moment to become visible. As an analyst, I find Keown's framing balanced. The injuries are real, the squad depth was genuinely tested, but elite clubs are expected to manage these moments, and that remains the challenge for Arsenal. Breaking news, Nico Williams and Arsenal. The claim here is direct. Arsenal are keen on signing Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao this summer amid uncertainty over Gabriel Martinelli's future. Now, I want to be very clear with you. This is reported as breaking news from a social media source. It is a rumour at this stage. There is no confirmed deal, no confirmed offer, and no confirmed decision from any party involved. I will be treating this as unconfirmed information. With that said, the context behind this rumour makes it worth examining seriously. And when we get to the articles later in today's video, you will see exactly why this name is on Arsenal's list and what the financial picture looks like. So hold this information for now, and we will return to it. Opta analyst, Arsenal's remaining fixtures. This is pure data, and it tells a very interesting story. Opta confirmed that all of Arsenal's remaining Premier League games are against teams currently in the bottom half of the table. They have won 12 of their 15 games against bottom half teams this season. That is an 80% win rate. Compare that to their record against top half teams. 50% win rate, 22.2% draw rate, 27.8% loss rate. Against bottom half teams, their loss rate is 0%. 0. Their goals per game against top half teams is 1.4. Against bottom half teams, it is 2.5. Their goal difference change per game against bottom half sides is plus 1.9, compared to just plus 0.4 against top half teams. What this data tells us is that Arsenal have a clear 2-tier performance level depending on opposition quality. Against elite competition, they struggle to impose themselves consistently. Against lower-ranked opponents, they are dominant. The good news is that the remainder of their season falls into the category where they perform best. If they win their remaining games, they will be giving themselves every chance of winning the title. The bad news is that they are now dependent on Manchester City dropping points, and that removes control from Arsenal's hands. The data is encouraging for the run-in, but it also highlights the gap that still exists between Arsenal and the very best. And that gap is exactly what the transfer window this summer needs to address. Madueke versus Nwaneri. The comparison shown here is stark. Madueke, who cost Arsenal £52 million, has produced 11 goal contributions in 36 games in the current season of 2025-26. Nwaneri, the academy product, produced exactly the same number, 11 goal contributions in 37 games in the previous season of 2024-2025. The point being made is that Arsenal spent £52 million on a player who has not provided a statistical improvement over what a teenager from their own academy was already producing. Now, as an analyst, I want to be precise here. Direct statistical comparisons across different seasons and different contexts have limitations. The nature of the games, the quality of opposition, and the roles each player occupied may have differed. But the fundamental question this raises is a legitimate one. If Nwaneri was producing those numbers at a younger age without a transfer fee attached, then the decision to spend £52 million on Madueke needs to produce a clear return on that investment. At this stage in the season, the numbers do not show that return. This feeds into the broader conversation about Andrea Berta's first transfer window, which the second article addresses in significant detail, and we will get there shortly. Owen on Mikel Arteta. Owen said, you know, this is not an easy job to be a top Premier League manager, not an easy job, and he's doing a serious job. If they don't win it, they don't win it. He's probably going up against one of the greatest managers of all time. This is Owen offering a measured and fair defence of Arteta. His framing is important. He is not saying Arsenal will win the title. He is saying that failing to win it would not automatically make Arteta's work a failure, given the opponent he is facing in Pep Guardiola. Owen's reference to Guardiola as one of the greatest managers of all time is relevant context. It places the challenge Arsenal face in perspective. Losing a title race to Manchester City under Guardiola is not the same as losing it to an average team. The standards set at that club over the last decade have been extraordinary. What Owen is doing here is separating the judgment of the manager from the outcome of the season. That is a nuanced and analytical position, and it stands in contrast to the harsher voices we have heard from others. As an independent analyst, I think Owen's view deserves weight. Arteta has built something real at Arsenal. The question is whether the tools around him, including the players signed last summer, are good enough to close the final gap. Thierry Henry on Arsenal. Now, this one is harder to read, especially as an Arsenal fan, but let me give you the full quote first. Henry said, "Honestly, this is exactly where you see if a team truly has the mentality of champions, and right now, Arsenal doesn't look to be one. To lose focus and drop points from the game away at the Etihad against Manchester City, especially knowing how crucial every point is at this stage, that's not just disappointing, it's a disgrace. Unbelievable from a side chasing the title." He then said, "You cannot talk about winning the league and then deliver a performance like that when it matters most. This is the moment where you have to be clinical, disciplined, but now you want to rely on miracles and praying City lose games. And finally, I am beginning to really fear if these guys actually have what it takes to get over the line and win this league, because let me tell you right now, champions do not do this." This is Thierry Henry, the greatest player in Arsenal's modern history, a man who won the Premier League with Arsenal, a man who loves this club, and he is expressing serious doubt. The phrase "it is a disgrace" is not a casual comment. It is a deliberate choice of words from someone who understands exactly what is required to win a title. When Henry talks about champions, he is speaking from direct experience. He won it, he knows what it feels like, what it demands, and what it looks like when a team does not have it. His final line is the most important one. He says champions do not do this. He is not saying Arsenal cannot win. He is saying that if they want to be champions, their behaviour in these moments needs to change. As an analyst, I take Henry's words seriously, not because he is being harsh, but because he is being honest. There is a difference between a team that competes for the title and a team that wins the title. Arsenal have competed. Whether they have the final ingredient to cross that line is the question that this season will ultimately answer. Bradley Barcola and Arsenal. The PSG situation, the situation with Bradley Barcola is genuinely interesting, and it has real implications for Arsenal's summer. Barcola's contract extension at Paris Saint-Germain has stalled. It is not progressing, and it is starting to raise questions internally at the club. His current deal runs until 2028, which means by the summer his contract will have just 2 years remaining. That is the critical detail. For a club like Paris Saint-Germain, allowing a key asset to enter the final 2 years of a contract without a resolution is a serious financial and sporting risk. 2 years remaining means they must either extend him, sell him, or face the prospect of losing him for a reduced fee or even for free further down the line. Arsenal are strongly interested. The sporting director, Andrea Berta, wants to bring in a new attacker this summer, and Barcola is named as one of the targets. The position of focus is left wing, which makes the pursuit of the Frenchman even more logical given that his strengths are on that side. Barcola's numbers this season are impressive. 12 goals and 7 assists in 39 matches for Paris Saint-Germain. That is a combined return of 19 goal contributions in a single season, playing for one of the best-funded clubs in world football. He is 23 years old. He is French, which matters in terms of adaptation to top-level European football. And he is a natural left winger. Now, here is where it gets even more interesting. Paris Saint-Germain are reportedly keen on Gabriel Martinelli. That means the clubs could find themselves in a situation where a direct exchange of players, or at least a parallel set of negotiations, becomes possible. Arsenal sell Martinelli to Paris Saint-Germain and use those funds to bring in Barcola. This is not confirmed. It is reported as an interest, not a done deal. But the logic is clear. Arsenal need a left winger. Paris Saint-Germain want Martinelli. Barcola's contract situation creates a selling opportunity. All 3 conditions are in place. There is also Seny Mayulu to mention. His contract talks at Paris Saint-Germain have also stalled. Arsenal have reportedly made an offer for the 19-year-old. However, Mayulu is described as more of a prospect signing. He has 5 goals and 5 assists this term. He is a future talent, not a ready-made solution. The honest assessment is that if Arsenal are serious about competing for the Premier League title next season, they need proven quality in the final third. Barcola represents that. Mayulu does not, at least not yet. Arsenal need to push hard for Barcola if he becomes available. The window to move on a player of this quality at this age with this contract situation does not stay open for long. Victor Gyokeres and are the question that will not go away. This is the conversation that cuts deepest right now. Kai Havertz starting ahead of Victor Gyokeres against Manchester City in what was arguably the most important game of Arsenal's season is not just a tactical decision, it is a statement. Gyokeres is Arsenal's top scorer with 18 goals this season. On paper, that sounds like a success, but the deeper evidence tells a more complicated story. Gyokeres has had 0 shots in his 5 combined appearances against Liverpool and Manchester City this season. 0. In the games where Arsenal needed their striker to impose himself against elite opposition, he was invisible. Meanwhile, Havertz, in just 1 game against Manchester City this weekend, created 2 big chances and scored the equaliser. That is in a single 90 minutes. The numbers tell the full story. Gyokeres is contributing at a rate of 0.43 goal involvements per game. That covers 18 goals and 2 assists across 46 appearances. Now compare that to Havertz when playing as a centre-forward in the previous season. He contributed at a rate of 0.55. And in the season before that, an extraordinary 0.88. Mikel Merino, when stepping in as a centre-forward this season, has returned 4 goals and 3 assists in 11 appearances. That is a rate of 0.64. And when Merino stepped in as a striker the previous season, he contributed at 0.75. The pattern is consistent, and it raises a serious question. Gyokeres is Arsenal's first-choice striker, but the data suggests that multiple players, including Havertz and Merino, contribute at a higher rate when given that role. The argument in Gyokeres' favour is that he stays fit, he runs constantly, and he fights for the team. Those are real qualities, but Arsenal's system requires more than effort. It requires technical precision, movement intelligence, and the ability to contribute in big games. And the evidence from the biggest matches this season suggests that Gyokeres has not delivered in those moments. Andrea Berta was the main driver behind the Gyokeres signing. And the honest assessment now is that alongside Kepa Arrizabalaga, Christian Norgard and Noni Madueke, there are genuine questions emerging around effectively half of the players brought in last summer. It is important to say that judging transfers in hindsight is necessary. That is precisely when you have the evidence. And right now, the evidence on several of last summer's signings is concerning Nico Williams, the £78 million question. Now we come back to the Nico Williams story, and this time with much more detail. The situation is clear. Arsenal are closely monitoring Williams as he returns from a groin injury that has limited him to fewer than 20 starts this season. Despite those fitness problems, he has still contributed 4 goals and 2 assists as he rebuilds his sharpness. His immediate priority is regaining full fitness ahead of the World Cup, where he is expected to represent Spain in a significant role. That focus on international football may delay any transfer conversations, but it does not remove Arsenal from the picture. Andrea Berta is identified as a huge admirer of Williams. Multiple figures within the Arsenal hierarchy are reported to hold him in high regard. This is not a passing interest. It is described as a sustained, serious level of tracking that has continued for a number of years. Now, the financial detail is the key piece. Williams signed a new long-term contract with Athletic Bilbao last summer. That deal runs until 2035, making it one of the longest contracts in world football, but it includes a release clause. And that clause is now understood to be worth €90 million, which translates to approximately £78 million or $106 million. That is a significant number, but it is also a clean number. There is no negotiation required with the selling club if a buyer meets that clause. The fee is fixed. The decision lies with the player. Barcelona have been long-term admirers of Williams, but their current priorities are focused elsewhere, specifically on strengthening in central defence and adding a striker. That has created space for Arsenal to move forward as the leading candidate. The connection to Martinelli is also explicit here. There is acknowledged uncertainty surrounding Martinelli's future at Arsenal. The club values him at £50 million or more, but is prepared to listen to serious offers rather than block a departure. Williams could therefore be brought in as a direct replacement for Martinelli on the left side. As an analyst, the logic here is sound. Arsenal need a left winger who can perform at the highest level consistently. Williams, when fully fit, is described as one of the best wingers in Europe. He is 23 years old. He has made 195 appearances for Athletic Bilbao with 35 goals and 36 assists. The release clause makes the pathway clear. The question is whether Arsenal are prepared to commit £78 million to a player who has spent a significant portion of this season injured. That fitness concern is real and it deserves serious consideration before any decision is made. But the broader picture supports the move. Arsenal need to upgrade on the left. Martinelli's exit appears increasingly likely. Williams has the quality, the age profile and the technical profile to fit what Arteta wants. And with Barcelona stepping back, the competition for his signature may be less fierce than expected. Pulling it all together, the full picture for Arsenal right now. Let me bring everything together for you. Arsenal lost to Manchester City. The injury crisis contributed to that result with the absence of Saka, Timber and Calafiori, leaving Arteta without key pieces in key positions. Carl's made that case clearly. But Henry and Evra have raised questions that go beyond injuries. They are asking about mentality, identity and belief. Those are deeper questions that a full squad does not automatically answer. The statistical outlook for the remaining games is actually positive. All remaining fixtures are against bottom half teams. Arsenal have an 80% win rate against those opponents this season. If they win those games, they give themselves a chance. But the title is now in Manchester City's hands to some degree, and Arsenal are reduced to hoping for slippage from their rivals. In the transfer market, the summer is shaping up to be one of the most significant in the club's recent history. Multiple signings from last summer are under scrutiny. Gyokeres, Madueke, Kepa and Norgard are all being questioned. The recruitment needs to be sharper, braver and more aligned with what the team actually requires tactically. Barcola is a genuine target with a genuine opening. His contract situation at Paris Saint-Germain creates a realistic pathway. If Arsenal can move quickly and decisively, there is a deal to be done. Williams is the bigger, more expensive option. £78 million is a serious investment. But he is the kind of transformative left-wing talent that could immediately change Arsenal's attacking threat. His recovery from injury must be monitored carefully before any commitment is made. Mayulu is a long-term prospect, not a solution for next season. The picture for Arsenal is complex right now. There is hope in the run-in data, there is concern in the pundit analysis, there is clarity needed in the transfer market, and there is a fundamental question about whether this squad, even with the right additions, has what it takes to close the final gap. That question will not be answered in this video. It will be answered in the remaining weeks of this season and then in the decisions made during the summer window. What I can tell you is that the evidence is now on the table. The numbers are clear. The observations from people who have won at the highest level are on record. And Arsenal's response to all of it will define not just this season, but the direction of the club for the years ahead. This is Melissa, Arsenal analyst. Thank you for watching. If this kind of deep, independent, fact-based analysis is what you come here for, make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you never miss a video. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know what you think about the Barcola situation, the Gyokeres debate, and whether you believe this Arsenal squad can still win the league. See you in the next one.